Hello, and welcome to Adulthood is a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and you all know my sister Casey, and we're your hosts.
In today's episode, we will discuss love languages. We will also discuss the ins and outs of understanding our own and others and using them properly. Let's get started.
I love languages. Man, they're such a great tool. I remember I was introduced to them through the book. I think that was the name of the book, Love Languages. And it's like I'd never heard about them before, so I didn't understand what they were. And once I was reading the book, it seemed so obvious to me, like, oh, I do a lot of acts of service, quality time is a big one for me too. And like I said, it was so obvious, but prior to reading the book, it hadn't dawned on me that you could pinpoint them down to a set level of them and use them in your dealings with other people to better your relationships. So this is amazing. So, and they're
you
definitely
self-help books, man.
I know. I really like to read, man. Well,
I read too.
I know you like to read too, but you don't. Yeah, yours are always like you give me different book ideas all the time. Yeah. But it's never the self-help ones. Me, I love reading. I love the self-help ones. I like fiction. I like all of it.
I'm just always recommending smut books to you.
Yeah. I like those too. It's okay. Gotta keep the variety in my life.
Right.
Oh, and I'll be self-help. Hey, those are self-help just in a different way.
It helps you with my love language of touching myself.
Yeah. Quality time, I like to call it. Quality time.
So, just for listeners that don't know, the 5 main love languages would be words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. So I'm a big physical touch person, which is why I'm always touching myself and recommending smut books.
When I think about me, I touch myself. I think that's funny that you say that you like physical touch, though, because you're not like you're not a physical touch person. You're not about the hugging and stuff like you don't come across that way in any way, shape, or form.
I definitely not. I only want to be touched by certain people. And especially hugging and things like that. I find hugging to be it's such an emotional thing for me. So if I do hug you, it's like such an act of trust for me to allow somebody to hug me.
Oh, okay. Physical touch is a big one of mine, and hugging is like my high and my bye to like most of my friends I see. Anytime I'm just meeting up with people, it's like, I'm going to see you, I'm going to give you a hug, hi. And then when it's time to leave, I'm going to give you a hug, goodbye. But I like that physical touch, so I do it pretty much with almost all my friends.
And I don't. I have friends that I know that they are huggers. And so I tolerate it and I allow it. But
tolerate it.
I'm like, okay, I'll get a hug.
Me, and I'm like begging for it, but it's because I had like I can feel when I'm going through like maybe too long of a period of time without maybe seeing some friends or doing something to where I haven't had a hug from another individual, and I feel it and I crave that physical touch from someone. So sometimes I'll like have a friend like, can I just have a hug? They're like, sure. Like I'm like, I just need physical touch because I crave it if I don't get it for a while.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah, I do like
with hugs, it's such a, I mean, if I'm hug, like I melt into a hug, right? So if I really am wanting a hug super bad, it's maybe like I've had a bad day or something is going on to where I just need to feel safe, right? Like I need that safety of somebody. And if I don't know I don't want you to be that hugger.
Got you. So for you, that's just a sense of safety, almost like a really safe space for you to be being hugged by someone.
Yeah.
And I don't really view it, I guess I clearly don't view it as safety as much as I just view it as like getting some physical touch. So I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely know what you mean about having a hug that feels safe for sure. I've had,
Yeah.
those, but yeah, on a normal, just day to day, I don't think about them like that. So that's interesting.
And so, I mean, there's obviously like mom always gonna hug her, or the kids. My kids get all the huggies and snuggies from me all the time.
Right. They're like, yeah, you can stop that anytime now, Mom.
They're like, you don't like hugs because you won't leave us alone.
Like, get off me. Like, just trying to cuddle, man.
I used
go,
to.
go back to cooking for us or something. We don't need snuggles.
So I do. I'm always like, come here and give me huggies and snuggies. And when they were younger, I did a sugar shower where I would just like randomly grab them and like kiss them all over. Sugar shower.
I'm sure they really appreciated that in their teen years.
Yeah. Well, especially if I would do it in front of their friends, it was their favorite.
Oh, well, I mean, that'd be the most obvious time to do it, duh.
I'd be like, have you had a shower lately? They're like, yes, I've had a shower. Leave me alone.
They're like, oh my God, I know what's coming. Please don't, Mom. Please don't do it.
Oh, man.
Their friends are like, yeah, all right, what's going on? They're like, oh, good God.
And then their friends would be running away, trying to escape sugar showers from me.
And it's weird they all quit visiting your house after that.
I was going to say that I read an article recently about love languages and how they could be tied to birth order.
Really?
Yeah.
What did it say for the baby?
Well, babies like me.
I mean, that's just.
What?
I was just thinking how interesting that is. Like, why? I wonder what would lead them to look into the love languages and then tie them to your birth order. So now I'm interested to hear. So yeah, what was the baby?
So the baby likes physical touch, and then a second form for babies would also be gift giving. Apparently, some babies, I don't know anything about it because it's not my baby life, but some babies got spoiled with lots of gifts when they were growing up, and they use that as a love language. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's how they receive love, getting gifts.
That's how they.
Because I feel like you give and receive different. Yeah. Okay. Do you remember the middle one?
Right. Yeah. So the middle children enjoy quality time, but they're also into gifting.
Okay. Oh, quality time tracks for me for sure. I like quality time.
Gifts doesn't track for you though.
No. I don't think we said it out loud to our listeners. I might have said mine. Mine's definitely quality time and physical touch. So what are your normal ones?
The way I definitely physical touch. I did say that I like to touch myself a lot. And then, I would say you know what? I do like quality time, but I think I would probably say maybe acts of service.
Oh, I could see that. Okay.
A big one for me.
Yeah, I don't like the gift giving either though, and you don't like it either. It's not my go-to for anything.
It really isn't. Well, I've had gift givers, the people that they show love through giving gifts. I've had those people in my life, and honestly, they give really awesome gifts. But I think for me, it makes me a little uncomfortable only because I can't always reciprocate. I'm not a good gift giver, and so then when I feel like I can't reciprocate because I don't even pay attention half the time. I don't pay attention.
Okay.
It's the little things.
Yeah,
like
you have to be really
"Here's
thoughtful
your
to be a good
snack."
gift giver. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't even pay attention to what people are snacking on half the time. So I'm not a good gift giver.
Yeah, I do think it does take some attention to detail. Like noticing that someone might have a favorite color or their favorite snack. And if you don't have that, I don't have attention to detail either. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I'm not big on the gift giving either. It's not a forte of mine by any means.
Yeah,
I don't, and But I feel you on the reciprocation because I think that's part of my problem with stuff is if someone does give me a gift, I feel like I need to reciprocate it and get them something. So then it's not necessarily that it's as genuine coming from me because now I'm like forcing myself to find something real quick that I think they would like,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to just being something that I thought of because I was out and about and happened to see something that reminded me of somebody. It comes into like I force it. I've actually worked on that the past few years of, I mean, I don't get a ton of gifts by any means, but like when I do get something, just being, hey, thank you, appreciate it, and trying to move on from there and not like make myself feel like I have to go and reciprocate that gift or go get them something just like it.
Yeah. So as much as I'm not a gift giver, I have a friend and she's big into receiving gifts. Like this is her love language. And I know this about her. So for her birthday this past year, we were having an early morning meeting at work. And so I planned ahead. And see, she's also, God bless her, she's so into like anything on TikTok or something that trends. And so one of the things I saw like trending was a coffee bouquet. So I went and got her a coffee and I put some donut holes in it and like a little cup of flowers and I brought her that. So that was
That
good on
sounds
me.
nice.
Yeah, I never do anything
That
nice.
was good. I didn't know that gifts had trends anyway, so I would not have even known to look up gift trends. But that's cool.
Well, she's
It's a crazy world out there, man. I can't keep up with it.
she's well, I mean, not so much gifts. It's just like random trends that, and I know she wants these things because she's always talking about like her husband. She won last year for Halloween. She wanted a boo basket, and she's telling me like, I just want him to get me a boo basket. I'm like, a what?
What? What would you even put in that? A
Little
boo, not
candies.
boob, but boo.
Boo,
Because at first I was like, "Are you saying boob basket?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Boo for Halloween."
boo. Yeah. So I guess you get it for your boo, like your boo basket.
Oh, so,
Listen,
okay.
I don't know. I'm not the one that makes up these trends, obviously.
I love Halloween. I've never heard of a boo basket.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe you need to spend a
Hmm.
little more time on the TikTok.
Research and trends, getting up to speed with the times. Well, not if I'm going to be disappointed and no one gets me one, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah. You're like, I got boo baskets for so many people and nobody got me one.
Yeah, no one got me a boo basket. Weird.
Oh,
Well, see, it's interesting because yeah, I can like receive gifts, okay, but when I receive them, I don't think about that, as a love language. I was like, oh, that was nice. But if it's like you were saying acts of service earlier, man, I feel that. If someone's
yes.
cooking me dinner,
Oh,
or one of, one of my big ones is obviously like my friend that comes over and helps with my ever evolving projects around this house that I come up with. And they'll like, oh, I'm going to come help you knock stuff off your to-do list. I'm like, oh man, yes. Like I feel that. So that
yeah.
speaks way more volumes to me than getting, I mean, a boo basket and a coffee basket sounds super fun. I love both those things, but that wouldn't strike my love language. You know what I mean? That wouldn't make me feel loved per se, you know?
Yeah, I do. Because you can show love and receive love in different ways, I think. And I mean, for me,
Yes.
gift giving is not my thing, but because I know it's how she receives love, that's why I got her that gift. Like that's why I made sure because I knew her birthday was coming up, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
what can I really do for her?
Well, because I mean, you got to know, right? Because a lot of people tend to give in the way they'd really rather receive without
Yes.
knowing it, right? Like you don't understand the love languages or possibly how they work. So then you could kind of assume like acts of service or quality time might be my thing. So in wanting to show you how much I care about you, I'm going to make myself available. And then when you don't make yourself available, I get all hurt when quality time wasn't maybe your thing. So you're like, oh, that's nothing. Like for 10 years was gifts or something. And you're like, oh, but I just got you a gift the other day. I'm like, yeah, but that wasn't quality time. So,
Right.
so I tend to want to give in that way. So knowing someone else's or being able to understand theirs, I think would be so helpful, right? In doing stuff because I just think about that you're in a relationship, obviously, you want that person to feel loved. If you can talk to them in their love language as opposed to yours and separate them out, that could probably make a really big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because, for example, like me, I'm an acts of service person, right? I want acts of service. And so one of the things I do for people is I cook. Like that is probably my number one acts of service that I do to show love.
Well, yeah.
But I also really like to have somebody cook for me. Like show me your love through, cooking for me.
Yeah, like you make dinner tonight, so I don't have to, kind of thing.
Right. Right.
And you want to do I think you've always had cooking was probably, or baking might have always been one of yours too, because like when we were younger and I would go mow the yard because I was like, I don't really want to, but I knew you really didn't want to and it didn't bother me as much. So I'm like, fine, I'll go mow the yard. And you'd stay inside and bake me cookies. So
Yeah.
so we were both doing an acts of service to each other, but of taking on a service neither of us wanted to do. Like I knew you'd way rather be baking those cookies than mowing the yard.
I know.
It was a
What's
big
funny
ass yard.
is it was a big yard. I had wondered a little bit because I was thinking to myself with this acts of service, I thought, oh, maybe it's because I'm a mom and that's why I do that and that's why I use that as a love language. But you're right. Like I did when we were younger like that.
Yeah. And I don't know if I've always done that one or not. I feel like I've always been a touch though, physical touch, because I'm always a cuddler, man. Boy, do I like to cuddle.
Yeah, I'm like you have always touched me aggressively.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
aggressively. Okay, I mean, calm down.
Like forcing yourself on me.
I just pet you to go to sleep and stuff. It's not even that big of a deal. Force myself on you. Tackle you down to force you to spend time with me.
We grew up sharing a room a lot of the time, and then sometimes we even we shared a bed. So she touched me a lot.
Again, listeners, this is with petting. I like to pet. It soothes me to sleep.
Oh, man.
I like you were leaning into it. It was fine.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
jeez.
But I did also see something the other day about how your love language can also actually reflect, say, like a negative trait. It would reflect opposite in a negative trait for you. So, say for example, if you show your love through like acts of service, if you don't ask for help.
Ooh. That would ring true for me.
Yes, I'm the same way. Actually, I hate asking for help. So if you do quality time, your negative thing would be isolating yourself, which I find interesting because
Okay,
I do isolate myself, but also I do that not negatively. Sometimes I just need some time to myself.
Okay, I'm like, man, this is so interesting to me because I isolate myself. I've been noticing it a lot lately, I should say, of isolating myself. I'm like, I just want to stay in my house, not leave, like not have to even open my door if I can help it. Just isolate my bubble. And when I'm forced to go back out in the world, I'm like, ugh. So I think I've never heard of that connection, but it totally makes a lot of sense to me.
Right.
Do you remember the other ones, like for physical touch?
Okay. Yeah, so physical touch would be you start avoiding, like you would not pet me anymore.
I'd still pet you if you were in bed with me at night. After I isolated all day from you, though.
And then gift giving would make you do impulsive shopping, and then instead of words of affirmation, it's like silent treatment.
Like silent treatment?
Yeah. You could just go silent.
I could see, I mean, gosh, that honestly does make a lot of sense. And it would make sense that you retaliate by what you're not getting, right?
Right.
So if you want those words of affirmation and you're not getting them from your other person, I could see how your retaliation would be go silent. I'm not saying I've ever done that before.
No.
But now that I'm thinking about that, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I could see that.
I definitely can be a silent, which is interesting because I can definitely be a silent treatment person where but it's not so much that I'm trying to retaliate. It's more just I need to stop and think before I say something that I don't want to say.
Oh, okay. I've definitely done it in times when I felt like I was doing something and giving a lot of love and not receiving that back from that person. Like I will shut down and I totally see myself do it. I notice it and not knowing that I would not have put those two things together, right? Like your love language being that opposite for your negative trait or something. But it was funny because I definitely do it. And so pointing that out is interesting to me because I had noticed it in myself probably about maybe 6 or so months ago. I was doing it and I made a comment to a friend, like, I know I do this. And I was like, something I'm going to kind of work on. And for the nicest way of putting it, the friend was like, okay, that's your problem, not mine. I don't know what your deal is. Because they're like, I didn't even notice anything was happening. I'm like, of course you didn't even notice I was silent. Like,
You didn't notice me. Classic middle child syndrome there.
I know, for real. Out there in the wayside, no one knows I'm here. Don't worry about it. And I did. I get all silent. And so I had realized I was doing it. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And that person was like, I mean, then that's your choice, man. I didn't even know you were doing it anyway, so don't worry about it. I'm like, well, good Lord, right?
I didn't.
Cool. I feel so important right now. But as we're saying this, it's interesting because it was something I was kind of trying to pay attention to for myself, not even thinking about it tying in with a love language. But knowing this is very like, oh, okay, yeah, that would make a lot of sense to me for sure.
So for me, because I am physical touch, and that's my thing. If I'm in a angry or I'm upset with you, something like that, like say in bed, I will get as far to my side of the bed. I will be like hanging on to my side of the bed over there because I don't even want to feel your body heat. That's how angry I am.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
I will
yeah.
absolutely become a
Literally
void.
thought you were gonna say you're gonna pull out a pimp hand
A what?
for some physical touch. It's just me. I think I might be the only one in the family that does that.
You're the only one that uses the pimp hand for
Yeah.
that.
Well, someone's got to. It's interesting you say that though, because I've done that. The whole get over as far as you can to your side of the bed, stay as far away from that person, like don't be in my space kind of thing.
Yeah, I absolutely this is my bubble now, and you better stay the hell out of it.
Yeah,
I do it.
definitely. I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, been there myself. Been there myself. Like, yeah, the avoidance, like I will avoid you.
Yes.
Oh man. I do think though that using these in your life can be so useful, right? In your relationships. Obviously, I'd go more probably romantic than anything, but also just in other relationships with other, with friends and stuff like that, you can use them. And there was I should have looked and seen. There used to be a test you could take online, like the love languages test, and you
Oh
could
yeah.
take it online and it would tell you your love languages. I'm going to look up right now to be honest with you. Languages test. Yeah, you can totally still take it online. FYI. So yeah, you can go on there and take the test, and it'll give you your love language. So then you could have your partner do it too.
Yeah. See, and it is really helpful though, because think about it. Like we talked about earlier, acts of service, and so I would tell you, I'm a big acts of service, and I cook. Right, that's what I do. But say somebody who doesn't receive in that manner, they're never gonna understand that that's what I'm doing, right? They're just gonna be like,
yeah, they just assume you're cooking. You're like, okay,
yeah. So I mean, say so Big J and I, for example, right? I cook a lot. This dude is words of affirmation all day because he's always like, "Oh, this is really good dinner, babe. Thanks." Blah blah blah. And I'm over here like, I know it's good. I cooked it. Like,
like I added a dash of love in that. Duh.
It's because
Of
of
course
the
it
love
was
that's in
good.
it, idiot.
Dumbass.
To him, he's showing the love by words of affirmation, and I'm over here like, stupid. What? Why don't you get in there
You're
and
like,
cook me
that's
some
not
dessert?
cutting it for me. Yeah, I was gonna say go make the dessert or the side or something. Like, damn, your words of affirmation are not cutting it for me today.
Oh man. Why don't you touch me while we
Oh
eat
my,
this food?
yeah, like words of affirmation don't do it. Have you ever talked to him about it? About the love languages?
Interestingly, no, we haven't ever had that discussion. I mean,
Oh
not that
well, you know what?
not that
Maybe
we couldn't
if
have it, but
since he listens to our podcast all the time, I'm sure he'll catch on to it after listening to this episode.
5 years from now, he's gonna catch on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, man. I feel like because if you had that conversation, right, like how much could it open up a lot of stuff?
Right.
But I mean, you say that too. Like as you say though, you still like to cook, but it'd be nice to have someone cook for you sometimes too,
Yeah. And it's not that he never
and
does.
not
I
always
mean,
be the
he absolutely does. I don't want to. Oh, he never cooks for me.
right.
But it's just maybe not as often as I'd like. Because
Yeah.
he's over here just thinking that his words of affirmation are cutting it.
Right. Well, I was gonna say when I did read that book, I was realizing, that physical touch and acts of service meant a lot to me, and it wasn't making my partner at the time wasn't feeling love from that because they were trying to show me and like giving gifts, and the gift would be nice, but gifts didn't equal love to me. And so in opening up that conversation, well, okay, I never really did with that one. My bad on that. But in thinking of any future ones, I'm like, how cool would it be to have a partner that did understand your love language? Because then you
Yes.
could communicate so differently, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know because again, I have not had that happen. But again, I don't know when I discovered the book, but I have not been given the opportunity to put it into play. Let me put it that way.
In a romantic relationship, right?
And yes, in a romantic relationship.
Because
Because
I let you touch me a lot. A lot.
I was gonna just say the same thing. Like you totally still let me pet you, and I really appreciate that. Even when we're in the nastiest hotel rooms in the world that I can find for us, you still let me pet you.
Even though you didn't do an active service and find me a good hotel room, I
I
allowed
definitely,
that.
I definitely failed your love language on that one.
Oh yes. I was so scared. I was so scared that it was a cockroach or something crawling on me. So I was just hoping it was you petting me and not a bug.
Hey, if I was like, I didn't even touch you all night. What are you talking about? You're like, what the hell, man?
What was that on my arm?
It was a cockroach. It was just me. I swear, it was just me petting, just petting you to
Surprise!
sleep. Oh man, damn hotel. I'm never gonna live it down.
Oh man. Not until you find us some like
Goodness.
5-star resort that we pay $20 for.
Mission accepted. I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
I don't think I could have found that Days In for $20 a night. Damn, dude. It's a challenge. Challenge accepted. I don't have faith on that one though.
Oh man.
Oh man. But yeah. So
I do think it's important. It doesn't matter what relationship you in. Like it could even just be like I said, like my friendship that I have. I mean, I just know that that's what her love language is. So any relationship you have, figuring out that person's love language is, it's going to open up any relationship.
Well, yeah, it's going to open up your dialogue and the way you can communicate. But also, like you said, you can't always just guess someone's love language, like by paying attention to certain stuff, because they might be just giving in what they like in a way they might receive, but they give different or something like that, So that's when it might be handy to know about that test and have someone take it or just ask them, like, hey, do you know your love language so I can, do the right thing or whatever the case was? I don't know. That sounded silly, but you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, because some people might not even know that there are love languages. Even though it seems like a really old concept to us.
Right. Like still a lot of people haven't heard about them, and you might have one or two. And I remember this is a few years back when I hadn't first discovered these. I'd now known about them probably at the time for like 3-4 years. And I was working the bar on a Saturday, and I made a comment to this couple that was in there. I was like, said something about love language, and they're like, "What? What is that?" I'm like, "You don't know about love languages?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I tell them, and they end up taking out the test. They get the test out, and they're taking the test. And then I think the husband to the wife is kind of like, "Oh, I wouldn't have even known that was your love language," which I was like, "Really? That one's an obvious one of hers." But I've known about the love languages. And next thing you know, like that afternoon, like we had 3-4 people at the bar all sitting there taking out their phones and doing the tests and talking to each other about our love languages and stuff. But it's like you said, so because I'm into the self-help books, I tend to come across a lot of different randomness, right? As far as stuff like this might go. But if no one's ever talked to you about it, how would you even know that it existed or then know what they are, right? To like break them down.
Like you said, I think that online tool, I think obviously direct communication is best
Yes.
if you know your love language and you know how you like to be loved. Just letting people know is going to be your best option there. But again, like you said, some people don't even know what they are. The test would be a really good option to figure it out.
Yeah.
If you're in a relationship and you're like, hey, you want to take this test? Like, let's figure this out so we
maybe
love each
just,
other
and
better.
maybe you're not even exactly it, because I was going to say, it doesn't have to be like you're struggling or anything. It's just you can literally just increase the way you're loving that person by opening up that communication and maybe seeing what each other's love language is and seeing how that can change things, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say our lesson learned and growth earned on this is it's useful to know your own love language and remember how you show love and how others receive it are different. We must learn to tune in and communicate on their level at times. That's not to say that if your partner enjoys words of affirmation that they do not want you to ever give them a gift. It just means that you should not have such a high expectation for their reaction to the gift.
In our next episode, we'll explore defining success. You're going to get our hot take on it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite.
And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, send us an email at adulthoodisaproject@gmail.com. And make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite listening platform to catch all our future episodes.